People go funny in the head when talking about politics, writes Eliezer Yudkowsky. Politics is an extension of war by other means. Arguments are soldiers. Once you know which side you're on, you must support all arguments of that side and attack all arguments that appear to favor the enemy side. Otherwise, it's like stabbing your soldiers in the back, providing aid and comfort to the enemy. When it comes to economic policies, people do seem to vote rather irrationally, and it's worth talking about that directly. In his book, The Myth of the Rational Voter, the economist Bryan Caplan identifies a few biases voters seem to have when it comes to economic policy. The first is make work bias, where voters tend to underestimate the economic benefits of conserving labor. Voters mistakenly equate economic growth with job creation. We see this bias come up with calls to prohibit or regulate some new technology which will allow employers to conserve on labor. Recently, we've heard calls to limit AI technology for fear that it will throw too many people out of their jobs. Economic research tells us that by freeing up labor, new technology makes us richer by allowing us to put our time and effort towards other valuable things. This is that process of creative destruction we have talked about. Voters often vote to limit the destruction part, not realizing this will also limit the creative part. Next is anti-foreign bias, where voters often see their country as in competition with others and underestimate the economic benefits of interaction with foreigners. Economic research tells us the single biggest drag on our economy is the severe restrictions we place on immigration. Economists have estimated that if all countries lifted their immigration laws, world GDP would double. Nevertheless, voters seem to fear that immigration will lead to lower wages or fewer jobs for them, which economic research does not support. Likewise, voters often favor policies which restrict our trade with other nations, leaving us poorer than we otherwise could be. As we know, when you prohibit mutually beneficial trades, you end up with deadweight loss. Pessimistic bias is one I notice among almost everyone I talk to. Voters always seem to see economic conditions as declining and underestimating real economic performance. Politicians and pundits are always on TV talking about how horrible everything is for the typical person, but the typical person in the United States is living a life of immense wealth and abundance. My friends and family complain about the haves and the have-nots, and everyone's always asking me what I think about the current state of the economy and whether or not we're headed for total disaster. There never isn't a time when people aren't predicting the imminent collapse of the dollar and scoffing at how inept their political rivals have been at handling the economy. No matter how good things get, no one ever wants to admit it. Last is anti-market bias. Voters see themselves as victims of the market rather than participants and underestimate the benefits of the market system. People believe that markets are inherently unfair or they favor the rich over the poor, but neither is true. Markets don't have emotions and no one is pulling the strings on them. One of the things I hope you got out of this class is that markets are something that emerges out of the interaction of humans. They balance our competing interests in ways that allows everyone to get the most that they can out of them. What I like most about market systems is that in order to succeed in them, you have to do something that benefits other people. That's the only way to get someone to give you their money. But voters often want something for free in a world where nothing is free. Needless to say, democracy can be a challenge. But let's not fall for pessimistic bias ourselves. Things are getting better. That is the trend. And with this knowledge, hopefully you can help push us forward.